going on, guys? I got me ordered me a bar plate, a thicker bar plate for the 500i. I was supposed to have 3 of them, quantity 3, their actual Stihl part number. But as you can see, I only got one package and one Stihl package. So this is all the stuff I got. I had a little trouble with this seller before, nothing to do with them. I buy quite a bit of stuff through their store on eBay. It's where I get all this bar, the 3-foot bar, all my light bars except the first 2 that I ever purchased has come from them. The 20-inch, the extra 2-footer I got, the 3-footer, and the other 28-inch. I only had trouble with the 20-inch. I ordered it, and UPS lost it, or somebody did. Not them. They sent it and everything. But they was really good and sent me another one. No questions asked. I don't know how that works when you file a claim or whatever, but they ended up making it right with me. So I hope they do that with these bar plates, because they're not, if you get the Stihl OEM part number, like the actual Stihl brand, they're not terribly expensive, but they're not terribly cheap either for just a little piece of metal. They're like $16 a piece. 3 of them was tax and all $50-something. So, but this thick part is 11/28/664/1001. I think the thin one, you got to watch when you order them, because I think the thin one is just 11/28/664/1000, not 1001. So you got to watch. You can't just go on there and order an OEM bar plate, because here's the deal. Yeah, it fits perfect. It's not going to be right. It just won't be. And you're not going to be happy. So you're going to be paying money for the exact same thing that you got. I found a guy's video that showed that. When I looked into it, I watched Jay Ferris was changing his out on his 500i, is what got me intrigued about it. And then I got to looking, and mine's not showing any terrible wear, but I'm thinking that skip chain might be rubbing on this, is what the problem is why that it may not be doing exactly what it needs to do. Because you can physically see a difference in the bar plates. And that's just another deal where you can see it's starting to rub it. It won't take long for this little thin deal to rub it. And I believe that's what my chain, that skip chain with the thick drivers, I think them sitting on, see how it's rubbing right there? They say that'll eventually rub through pretty quick, and then it'll be in your cases, into your cases, or whatever. And the deal is, on my right hand side, this side is the one that comes on it. I don't know how much you'll be able to see that. And this is the one you get. So like I say, you can visually see a difference. That is very flexible. Golly. And let me do this one. I don't want to do a lot, because you're not doing that with this one. It's stout. It actually calls on the package that it's for a 441. I finally quit sneezing. I sneezed all day, all afternoon yesterday, and about all night. I don't know what got my allergies wound up. 441R rat pan is what it says, so it may be a West Coast deal. But either way, we're going to throw this bad boy up on here. You know what I'm saying? And I guess now that I got this off, it would take dang near 2 of these ones that come on this 500i to equal the thickness of this one. So I guess I probably could double one up, but I don't really want to do that. I'll save them for backups in case something happens to it or whatever. But I don't know. It's just but here's the deal. You get that with all these new saws and even Husky, because I've owned pretty much all of Stihl's new Intronic saws, or I ain't gonna say all of them, but all the bigger like pro saws. I own them right now, I imagine. And if I don't, somebody speak up and tell me which one I don't own, because I don't know of any other uh, pro saws that they have. And one thing this might help, I never had no trouble with the chain catch or adjuster really giving me any fits on this saw. The 261's kind of grabby, and I think it may be because the plate's so thin. It just lets it that's tight enough. I don't want to strip that dude out or break it, because that's been known to happen. But it works. It lines up. It fits perfect, just like a champ. I want to check the 661 and the 462 and see if they're the same manner. I've got this 3-foot bar. I'm gonna run it on this 500i, and that thin bar plate may have had something to do with that skip chain not wanting to work. I'm gonna grab that skip chain now and see if it works, because I've got a 3-foot skip chain made up from the old Husqvarna stuff. I think it's 3-footer. I believe it is. And I want to see if it makes a difference. I've got y'all kind of out of camber, not on our usual bench. I'm on my chain making table because the dadgum workbench over there is just in a mess because I've been working on that pipe. You know what I'm saying? For a saw that I don't even own and don't have really no desire to own, unless a pipe makes them a whole lot stouter, a good pipe. And that iron horse pipe for the on that 590, it really worked. I mean, it did work. You had to lean the saw out, it created pull, and sometimes with the opening muffler mods that just let it breathe, you got to fatten it up some. But sometimes, if you get a pipe that's creating more pull, that's really good and creating more pull, you'll have to lean them out just a little bit, because a lot of these saws have impulse lines, and the more air it draws, the faster it goes and the more fuel it pumps. So the more fuel that it pumps is my thinking. I'm not for sure on this 100%. The more fuel that it pumps, the more fuel you're getting. So you have to lean it out a little bit, is the way I've understood it. Like I say, I'm not a saw mechanic guru by no means, because I can do little stuff. Well, I can tear one down, but I'm not getting into porting them and getting on all that kind of crap. I'd rather just run them and make sure. I just rather run them myself and have fun with them that way, because I'd like to know how to port just because, but I don't want to do it for money or start doing it for people. I'd like to know how to do it well enough and good enough to do my own saws and make them run really hot, kind of like Cajun makes his run, Aaron A. Lynch. Their saws look really good on TV, because they cut into hardwood quite a bit, and on TV, on YouTube, it's still grabby on that one. They just don't like that skip chain, boy. That's a no-go on that. Like I say, the small saws, the 400 and down seem to run it just fine, so I don't know what the deal is with it. This brand of skip chain. Now, you get into something else, I'm sure it runs it. I know it'll run the Stihl skip chain because I've run the Stihl. I can't say shit with a mouthful. I run the Stihl skip chain on the 2-foot bar on the 500 before. So on that loop that I bought that I didn't know that it was the skip or whatever. So I don't know I don't know if it's just this chain. This chain does look. The drivers do look like they're awfully wide, and that could be because it's a chain made from China. But I'm gonna tell you what, after I get done with this reel of LGX or EXL, I mean Oregon EXL, I'm going right back to that Husqvarna the Husqvarma full house chain. I like it just about as good as anything I've ran. And people can say what they want to. It's all in their head, I believe, because to me, it don't stretch any worse than what it typically does. And today's number is 15. 15 is today's number for the giveaway on 395. I seen everybody's comments. Justin Weaver, I know you're commenting from a different account because of phone difficulties, so I got you, buddy. I don't know if I've told you that. I thought I did, but I may not. Because here's the deal, I get a lot of comments now, and I'm grateful for them because the channel's growing. I mean, this channel is growing like to me at an incredible rate. We're like at nearly 1,500 now, and it wasn't but just last week that, or the week before, 2 weeks ago maybe, that I hit 1,000 to get monetized. I can't remember exactly. So it's really good. But what I'm getting at is I get a lot of comments, right? So, and I get them at all different times. And y'all may comment, in the evening right after I put my video out. But sometimes them dudes don't show up till the middle of the night. I wake up, give me something to drink, or sometimes I just don't sleep all that well, and I'll wake up and I'll try to answer a few or read them, at least hit the like button on them and put my heart on there. But don't do me dirty, bar. Don't do me dirty. Get that dude run way back there on that big bar. But so I try to get back to many of them as I can. And what I'm getting at is it may come a time here before long that I'm not going to be able to answer everybody's. I will try to answer the ones that I can. If like they comment while I'm still, a lot of times after I make a video, then I still am puttering around down here a little bit or something like that, And I'm not trying to be mean or ignore everybody, but if I start getting quite a few comments, which I know I'm going to with the way I've got it set up, saying the numbers and everything, it's going to be mighty near impossible for me too, unless I just sit there and answer comments all day. And I still got a home life too. I love talking to all you guys and commenting back and forth and having conversations. But I've got things I got to take care of too. So anyway, what I'm getting at is if I answer some and don't get to you or don't see your comment or whatever, and some of them I don't see, I still don't get the short comments. Only in YouTube Studio, and I'm not over there just terribly a lot, so I don't know how that tends to work. But It's something else. So like I say, I don't get butt hurt at me if I ain't Johnny on the spot with answering comments. Still appreciate everybody. I know who's been commenting from when they subscribe and all that, and I don't overlook things like that. And I appreciate the new people subscribing too. Don't get me wrong. There's some that's been here. See, that chain even rubs on something a little bit, but not terrible. But I ain't. That's as tight as I'm gonna tighten that till that breaks in. That's a new bar and a new chain. You can hear the way it slides. Like these, the rails are so tight on this, it's struggling against the chain. Of course, there's no oil in there either. But and on these 500 eyes, I don't know how many of you watch West Coast Saw. I like West Coast Saw. Gordy, I like his falling. I like all of his products, but I like his falling too. His falling videos. He said on these 500 eyes, where people out west run them because they got so much power and run the long bars, and they're kind of a medium sized saw. They're about the size of a 70cc class saw. They've been pulling some stud bolts through the cases a little bit, but that's from over cranking them. And I'm the type of person that I have a terrible, terrible problem with over cranking stuff. I broke the plate bolt on that, or didn't break it, stripped it out because I used that impact. I forgot it was on 3, and I just hammered down on it. It shouldn't have been that tight. That's why I hand did this one. But when I do my bar nuts on pretty much any saw, if I've got a longer wrench, like the longer handle wrench, I choke up on it. I don't use but about 3 fingers. I hold it just like this right here. And that's how I tighten them, and they seem to be tight enough because, you could get way down here on this end and really crank down. They say some people's pulling the studs through the case or whatever, and I don't want to do that. I'm going to get this 661, and we're going to take a peek at its bar plate, and I'm going to get the 400 and see what the bar plate looks like on it, because if it's the same type as these, the same fit, then I'll go ahead and order one for it as well. That 500i handle is a little different than the other Stihl model wrap handles. That wrap right here is just about in the way of that second bar nut or first bar nut, the bar nut toward the gas tank. But I know all you Husky guys are going to get on here and be like, see, that's $1,500 saw, and you had to put upgrade the bar plate on it. They're junk. Well, guess what? I had every 500 series Husky Pro saw there was, and just about all of them. The 550 XP, 562, 572, and the 592. I didn't have the 585 because it's not an XP saw. And my deal is, I'm not carrying around the extra weight for less power. That's about like buying a 365 special to me. The X-Torque models anyway are the same size as a 372. They're just powered down. So why, unless it's a money thing, why would you, but if you got that much money, why not spend the extra $100 or $200, whatever it is, to get the 372 that's the same weight and have more power? I just don't get that. I don't get that at all. And you could say that about the 400, but the 400, it's considerably cheaper. It's still lighter than the 462. And I'm going to tell you what, it has about as much power as that 462. I still believe that to this day. Even if the 462 is a little bigger and not broke, it may not be broke in all the way either, but I think that 400 has one more grunt. And the only difference is, and it could be this, is I left both spark arresters in the the 462 just in case I was ever on a job that you had to have both spark arresters. But here's the deal. I'm probably I was waiting more than anything. I might try to bring you over here where you can see more. I don't know how much you can see. Don't really matter. I'm just talking in general anyhow. But here's the deal. I don't know that it makes that big of a difference, but it could. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. This one's a thin one too, but my other ones didn't come, so I ain't gonna be able to change that out. But I am gonna leave this off here until I get it straightened out, because I don't figure I'm not gonna use this saw just right at the moment, unless I find that I need it to absolutely pull that 3-foot bar. But I want to try it with that 500i first. And I still may use the 395 if I have to, if it gets too crazy. But I really like the way these Stihls pull, and I just do. So anyhow, I want to be able to get back into that. The saws that I use the most is really I know this one I said balances out well, and I still stand behind that. But I still enjoy that 500i, and especially when you're in the cut. Now packing around or limbing or something that's kind of not very good, but falling with it, I enjoy falling with it and topping quite a bit. If I'm bucking a lot of firewood, I'll get the 400 or 462. I honestly like that 400 better than I like the 462, I think. But I've just been running that 462 because trying to break it in to see if it wakes up. And which all these saws don't have a ton of time on them, no doubt about it. Because I just converted to Stihl not too long ago. But here's the deal why I converted to Stihl, and I'm gonna say this again, but I'm gonna tell it for all the new people that may go back and watch some of my earlier stuff and all that. The 300 series Husky is a tough saw. You can't hardly beat it. I never run many older Stihl saws, but the 660, if it was at its max speed, it run pretty good when I first got it, But here's the deal: the 300 series Husky saws are very comfortable, and they have decent power for their weight at that time. That era saw, right? And they're tough. They're proven. They last a long time. Everybody knows that. 372 is probably the Husky's best saw. But that is sad in a way. They keep reverting back to that saw because that is what, 30 or 40-year-old technology, and Husky can't get up to par. They've come out with these 572s, and compared to the Stihl equal to the 462, even the 400 I think was beating my 372s. They just was. Of course, you could pipe them and pour them, and then it wouldn't. But I could pipe that, put a special pipe on it instead of a art box, tune it, and it probably would, or pour it and it would do just as good as well. But here's the deal: the 572s. The reason why I switched is because I wanted to go ahead and go to these Mtronic and auto tune saws, because that's the way they're going. That's the way everybody's going. Here before long, the 3 Series Huskies and the 660s, the old 46s, the 460s, all that is going to be like the old Home Lights and Max. It's going to be hard to get parts for them once they tear up, yada, yada, yada. Plus, these newer saws, even in the Husky, are way lighter. Ever saw but the 572. The 572 is about the same weight as the 372 still is. The 592 is a whole lot lighter than the 395. It's about the same weight as 390, but it's got more power, right? So they done good on that one. The 562, I love that little saw. That's probably my most favorite saw. But they have starting issues. The older ones do. They say they got it figured out on the newer ones, and they do have it figured out. That 562 that I had, I could run it a long time, and it would always start back. Sometimes it was a little harder. I'm gonna say these still start a whole lot better than that any Stihl I got, 400, 462, whatever, 261, starts back better than the 562 did when it was hot. It would start back. I never not had it not start, but I don't think you ever had to pull 4 or 5 times on a saw that's already hot, is what I'm getting at. So there you got that. And the 550 is a pretty decent little saw, but the 261 is exactly the same in the specs. So you ask, why did you go to Stihl? I was curious about the 500i because it was fuel injected and all that. And I was curious about the 400 because so many people raved about it. So I got the 500. I really liked it and really noticed that they, improved on their anti-vibe. And so I was like, that's good. So I thought, for the channel, I thought, well, I'll get the 400. If I don't like these saws, I will sell them. Well, I got the 400 and started running it. And where the 562 and the 572 could not pull a bar with a new chain on it without getting bound up, like the what you call the low raker blues or whatever. I thought, man, these things are light years apart, right? Them saws, of course, I put bark bots in filter, but the 500i I didn't. It was still pretty stout, and the 462 I run at factory. Never had it hang up due to a new chain. The 572 and the 562, the 592 didn't because, of course, it's a hoss of a saw. But and the 372, you go to try to dog in with a new chain, bop, bop, bop. Everybody's like, golly, you got your rakers totally too low, don't you? No, it's a factory chain. These, I'm setting them under the softwood setting and cutting hardwoods with them. It's a little rough. You ain't going to bore cut with it, but it pulls them with the bark bots, is what I'm getting at. So to me, they have a whole lot more low end grunt. And then I know the argument of people going to say, well, look, you're having to put the bar plates on them. The 400 comes with a plastic handle. Yeah, you can get a metal 4-wrap handle for the 400 if that's the route you want to go. But it's no different than Husky. Husky saws are going up around here too. They're probably swaying on up there the last time I looked. Everything's going up. Like I put that short up of that 462 before I bought it. I thought it was a good deal with a light bar and a 4-wrap because that's about a $300 to $350 value right there. And the Stihl saws around here, the 462s they're asking like $1,200 for them, just what I call East Coast style. So I thought it was a pretty good deal. But it's all on what you want. These are new saws. These new saws are just like new vehicles. When they come out with a new year model, I had a 97 Ford F-150. It was the new body style or whatever, right after what they called the old body style. It had a few quirks to work out because it was the very first model of that. They test them, but they can't go out and test them as long as what we're going to own them. You know what I mean? And that's just like they're finding out with the 592. Everybody raved about that saw when it first came out, but it's not as good as what it once was, right? Because they're saying they're having problems with the case breaking right here. The case is the main structure of your saw. You don't hear people breaking. Everybody cried about the 500i breaking the little flimsy clutch cover. Well, hell, the 592 is breaking the case where the dog bolt's on, right? The carburetor is giving people trouble. They say it's just a kink line. I don't think mine was a kink line, but I got a new carb on it. I didn't know that when I bought it. Will they be a good saw? I believe that they will be, yes. But did I know that? You don't know that because they're a new saw, right? And that's just like the 572. I've heard people having trouble with them starting back, even the new ones. So, to me, the 500 series Huskies are not as good of a quality of saw as the 3 series was.